What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It is Monday morning, so you know what time it is. We've had some CDL matches this weekend, week one of the Major 2 cycle. Let's take a look at our tier list and see what has changed after a interesting weekend of matches. All right, so if you are new here to the tier list, and this in the front of all my tier list videos, we don't do the letter thing. I've actually added a tier for this video because, and I'll explain in a minute, because this is starting to get a little bit more weirder than the last couple of years. So the way I normally do this is Sunday regulars or teams I consistently see, making it to the weekend. Potential contenders are anyone I think that has a chance to win. Usually it's the rest of the top six, because usually teams are a little bit more wide open. I've had this better than the rest here. I'll explain that in a minute. And then work to do or teams that have kind of a big flaw and around the cusp for making a roster change and missing pieces, or teams I think that need to make a change. I think what's becoming clear right now, at least for I think this week, although I think Optic will get to them are playing good enough that they're going to eventually move up to Sunday regular tier, so I get rid of better than the rest. We're at a point where I really only think that like 3 teams right now, I think have like a chance to win. I think 2 other teams are like right on the edge of that potentially, and I think one really more so than the other. So I'm adding this tier in to try and add more tier differentials to this. But realistically, I think that better than the rest here is only gonna be a temporary thing for a couple of weeks, but we'll see how it goes. All right, let's start off. Let's go at the top of the tier list. We'll start off with Toronto Ultra. They had 2 matches this week. First was a pretty clinical 3-0 of the Miami Heretics, and then they had a pretty interesting one against the Minnesota Rocker. Toronto went up 2-0 in the series with a pretty clean skid row hard point, and then around 11 S&D they won on Karachi. And then things got a little bit interesting. Minnesota started to really wake up. They had a pretty convincing Karachi control win. They battled and actually beat Toronto on a real hard point, but unfortunately Minnesota couldn't meet the moment in game 5, and Toronto actually 6-0'd them last map. So a bit of a fun one for the VOD for Toronto. I think it's a team where they're at is obviously they're a great hard point team, great search team. The one game mode right now, a little bit of questions about, barely, is control. And I don't see them really hurting them now. But if their hardpoint or S&D starts to fall off, this swing issue with control may kind of bite them in the long term. But I think Toronto's just kind of in cruise control right now, working on the little things. Vegas and Seattle coming up next before they play FaZe and Optic. So I expect Toronto to be like 4-0 going into the tougher part of their schedule here. All right, next up we have Atlanta FaZe, and they also played Miami this week. They actually lost to Miami first map sub base, which I'll be candid for Atlanta FaZe. They got to figure out sub base. 1-4 on so far this season. You already don't play terminal S&D, so you really don't want to have 2 auto vetoes in sub base, hardpoint, and terminal search. They got to figure out that kind of a little bit quirk with the veto process. But outside of the sub base in that series, they battled against Miami on S&D high rise, which were round 11. And then from there, they kind of cruised. They clean swept the Karachi control and then closed out Miami pretty convincingly on Rio. So another good one for the VOD, just like with Toronto facing that series, but they got to figure out sub base. Kind of a fun one, I guess, to open up. They have New York, Rocker, and Toronto coming up next of their next 3. It's actually kind of not an easy next 3 games because Rocker are kind of kicking up in form, and New York and Toronto aren't easy out. So let's see if FaZe can handle some of the challenges coming their way here. But I expect them to make winners bracket. Next up, we have Optic Texas, and they absolutely dismantled Thieves on Sunday. The only map that was close was the Invasion Control, which I think you could argue that probably Thieves could have won. The S&D Karachi, Thieves threw a couple of major rounds in that, but I thought Optic played their retakes and their plant holds very well, which was an issue definitely during Major 1. And they didn't really look like they were going to lose a real hard point at all. So if you're an Optic fan, I think you'd be happy with that first series, but obviously they have more to play, and they have a very easy schedule coming up. Minnesota Rocker, LAG, Carolina, Boston before they play Toronto and New York. So I think this Optic team is going to start off 4-0, 4-0, 5-0, 4-1. I don't know. They're going to get off to a good start here, and I'm probably going to move them up to Sunday regulars probably at some point next week or the week thereafter here. All right, who do I think is better than the rest? I'm gonna move New York up to this. I think it's clear that if you compare New York's to the teams sort of at this current level, they are going to beat them more so than not. And it proved this weekend when they had to battle a real difficult one against Carolina, in which they were down 0-2 and had to reverse sweep them. Carolina definitely mega folded on the last 2 maps. I know Skies was sick in that series as well. He was looking like he was going to puke mid-series, and he confirmed it later on in the day. And then they had a very clean one against the Seattle team that we'll get to in a second. That's a absolute disaster. But I feel confident enough in New York to move them into this tier. I think there's still plenty of stuff for them to work on. I'm still not convinced that they are a fantastic Respawn team. And they have Boston, FaZe, Miami, LAG, Optic, the rest of the stage. So there are tests here in the Respawn to see if this New York team can make winners bracket and hopefully not get dead last at a tournament. I think another team that I am going to move up, and I'm a little surprised about this, even though they lost this weekend, I am actually going to move the Minnesota Rokkr up to this best of rest here. I feel like they had a pretty good showing at Major 1, and they really battled hard in that series against Toronto. Just really, honestly, just mega folded during that last map. So they can figure out some of that Game 5 ice. I really like where their Respawn is at right now form-wise. I really like where their control is at right now, to be honest with you. I think they're going to have an opportunity to really hold their own. The problem for Minnesota is listen to their next 3 opponents. Optic, Boston, and FaZe. I have a good feeling that they're actually going to be kind of 1-3 going into the Thieves, Seattle, and Miami. But I think when all is said and done, they'll make a winners bracket. I just feel like if you face them off against LAG, Miami, Boston, Thieves, Seattle, Carolina, Vegas, I feel like they should win most of those matchups right now with the way their form is. So I want to give them their props, even though they did, in fact, lose this weekend. All right, now to shuffle people down, up and down some tiers. LAG, unfortunately, I am moving all the way down to missing pieces. I think it's clear after this weekend that with the speed of things as it is with Rio coming in, with the inconsistencies of Assault week to week, match to match, I feel like this team has an AR problem, and they're going to need to pick up a faster flex player down the line. They got a great series from Fame, and even then, it wasn't really enough in this one. I just feel like the talent gap for LAG is real tough, and I know that they're hard workers. And they did win an S&D in this one, which has been sort of their problem game mode. But Vegas outclassed them in the respawns, and I feel like this LAG team is going to be a real rough stage. You got Optic, Seattle, Carolina, New York, Thieves, FaZe. It's going to be tricky to make winners bracket with that. Miami, I don't really know where to put this Miami team. We'll put them behind Boston. I mean, they had a real rough showing this weekend against New York and, FaZe and Toronto, which proves to me that they're just not on the level of those teams. They're not better than the rest. You know, they have shown the ability to battle with some of the bottom teams. The issue right now for Miami, though, is like, they've kind of on a 4-game losing streak if you count the major and then these 2 matchups, although 3 of them are to Optic, FaZe, and Toronto. They lost to Vegas as well during that stretch. This rematch against Vegas is everything this week. Thieves, like, if they can rebound from this bad weekend and grab some momentum, I think I feel good. Otherwise, I don't know with this team, man. I don't know. They're on a little bit of an alert here, even though they made that roster change with Eric. Still didn't look particularly good this weekend. And then Thieves, I don't quite want to move them down a tier yet, but oh man, a real stinky against Optic. Like it's almost the same issues they had with their old team. Man, like they just look nervous. The comms, like they're not ready to play on the day, and this team should be playing a lot better than they did against Optic. Let's challenge them, take a map. They should have had the control. To me, was egregious. I know that Pred won the massive 1v1s, but Sam Octane broke it down on the flank. Like they were in positions they should have won that map. So I want to see more from Thieves before I move them up or down. They got Miami, Rokkr, FaZe, Vegas, LAG coming up. There's opportunities here, but they got to get it going, man. They got to get it going, especially with 2 new players in. All right, so the missing pieces situation down here. Let's start with Vegas, actually. I am going to this. I don't know how to order this tier. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I think I want to put Vegas in front of Carolina, and I think I want to put them in front of LAG. And to be honest with Seattle, I might put them here for now. I mean, I thought the LAG win was nice, you know? Obviously, I don't want to move them up a tier because it was LAG, but, you know, for Vegas, that's a good one to get on the board. I would say that for Vegas, the next 2 matches are real massive because Miami is a match right now that Vegas actually has a decent chance to win with Miami's current form. And then Toronto's a bonus match. And after that, you have Boston, Thieves, Seattle, Carolina. Like, there's an opportunity for Vegas to make some moves here, grab some points. But this is exactly how you want to start your stage. And we need to give these guys their flowers because they play really good as a team. And I know Attach, they all played well. I thought Dylan in particular played well on the weekend in that match. All right, Seattle Surge. Ooh. This is a tough one for me of like, where do I rank Seattle, Carolina, LAG? Because they're all kind of in different but similar boats. The Seattle team, I mean, they played the worst COD this weekend of anyone. I know I just kind of smoked on Thieves a bit and then Optic series, but like The control round, the second round of control in the New York Seattle series was one of the most criminal things I think I've ever seen in a CDL match this season, and maybe in the last 5 years. Like actively just trying not to win in a way that you wouldn't see in rank play, bro. So I don't know with this team. I think they're busted for now until Ender gets back in, and even then, I feel like they weren't a good respawn team to begin with. This team has a lot of systemic issues, and I don't think this comp of 4 is really going to be able to figure it out. And I really just think this is going to be a stage of pure misery. They got Carolina coming up, and then they got Toronto, LAG, Rocker, Vegas, Boston. So we'll see, but I'm not feeling Seattle right now. And then the last team is Carolina. Do I want to put Carolina last, or do I want to put LAG last? I think I'm going to put Carolina last, but I feel like actually I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put Seattle last, to be honest, and I'm gonna put Carolina second last, LAG, and then Vegas. I think this order is a little bit better for me. Obviously, this will change a lot on the day-to-day, but for Carolina, you know, they had a missed opportunity against New York. They should have closed out that series and walked away with a win. And then the Boston series was interesting. I don't actually know if I talked about Boston yet. I may have actually just completely skipped over Boston this. We'll get back to them in a second. But, you know, Hardpoint, first map, pretty close, pretty gritty. Second map, the Terminal S&D, they were able to win. I think, you know, that was a nice victory. Control High Rise was back and forth, but ASIM really popped off, and Carolina's got spawn trapped in the last couple of rounds. And then on the Karachi Hardpoint, I think Boston kind of handled the momentum on that map well. It's just some tough outs for Carolina. They battled. Listen, they haven't gotten 3-0 recently. You got to give them credit for that. They're battling these series. I just don't know if this team is a slaying talent to really close out or win any of these series. And when they did in New York, they couldn't do it. So they have Seattle, Optic, LAG, Miami, Vegas. We'll see if they can grab 3 or 4 wins there. And I guess circling back to Boston, because I don't remember if I talked about them enough. We just talked about their series versus Carolina. I thought this was a great debut for ASIM. I think if this team can find a way to play discipline behind Snoopy, and I think ASIM is going to help them more than Cap with that. I think they have the ability to kind of move up a tier. I don't really know if this team has enough talent to win events, but, you know, they have event winners on them. Everyone other than Snoopy has won CDL, actual CDL events on this team. So I'm not just talking, you know, Call of Duty League, World League, like 6 or 7 years ago. Like these guys have all won in the last 5 years. So Boston's got the pedigree. Let's see if they can kind of keep developing things, keep filling it out. Search, I'm still, I don't know with this team. And they have a very tricky schedule this stage. You got New York coming up next, Minnesota, Vegas, Optic, and FaZe. It's going to be a real challenge for these Boston guys. And they're going to be in a lot of premium matchups over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, this is my tier list. It's a bit of a mess. I think the better than the rest here will probably disappear in the next week or two. But it's clear we have some teams on the bottom. We have some teams in the middle that are and we got Optic, and then FaZe, and then Toronto is pretty much how it is. So let me know in the comments what you guys think of the video. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we will see you on the next one.